Hello! Today's lesson is going to be about writing with purpose. So you may be wondering, what exactly does this mean and how do I do this? So basically today I want to teach you guys about how to be more thoughtful about the sentences you are constructing. And there are two general rules that or guidelines that you can follow to completely revolutionize how you write. So these two main rules are number one, avoid to be verbs, and number two, avoid passive voice. So first we're going to talk about avoiding to be verbs. So what even is a to be verb? Well, to be verbs are the conjugation from the infinitive to be, and there are 8 of them. They are am, are, is, was, were, be, being, and been. So you may be wondering, this is kind of like the foundation of writing, basically. This is one of the first verbs you learn when you are learning a language. So why shouldn't I write with them? The number one reason why is it's not an active verb. The state of being is just like or what it literally means. The state of being is just not communicating that much about the points you're making. Like saying this is that isn't telling us that much about this or that. So going along with that, it's not specific enough, and thus it makes your argument weaker, or it makes your analysis weaker, or it makes your application weaker. Also, it limits your vocabulary. You're missing out on saying much stronger verbs than is or are, and it just comes across as kind of lazy because it is such like a rudimentary like word in our language, and it just sounds like you're not trying that hard. So now we're going to talk about passive voice a little bit, now that we've got a good idea of what to be verb is and why we shouldn't use it. So what exactly is passive voice? It is a form of to be, which we just discussed, plus a past participle. So an example of this is the ball was thrown by Emily. Versus if you're going to write with an active verb, Emily threw the ball. So the reasons why you don't want to write with passive voice is it buries your subject in the sentence. This isn't always the case. You can have passive voice with a subject, but usually it relegates your subject to your object. And this can even be used on purpose, like in political writing a lot of the time. They'll sometimes try to hide exactly who's responsible for something bad that is done by putting them at the end of the sentence. But it's not something that you want to do because you're not a politician. But so because of this, it also makes your writing less clear. It makes it harder to understand what exactly you're trying to say, who exactly is doing what, and what you're speaking about. And finally, it adds more words. So from a logistical perspective, if for applications, particularly if you're trying to hit like a certain or stay within a certain word count, this isn't a good thing to do. Also, it just sounds more wordy and it makes you sound long-winded. However, don't stress too much because there are some exceptions to these rules. These are more just like general guidelines. For example, like in scientific papers, I know passive voice is used a lot just because that's how experiments are done, or like that's what how they tell you to write in those type of classes. Also, you can use to be verbs in your writing. Obviously, it is difficult to completely avoid it. It is possible, but it is difficult. But the thing is, if you try to avoid using to be verbs and hold them back until you really need to say it and hit on a point when you truly need to say this is that, it just comes across as a lot more strong, and it makes the quality of your writing so much better. So now that I've told you what not to do, this is what you should do. So basically you should try to write with strong active verbs. This is more analysis. These verbs are more analysis based, but verbs like reflects, fortifies, illustrates are so much stronger than saying the author is saying this because. So I hope that helped you guys, and I hope you enjoyed this lesson, but thank you for watching.